ang mga ginintuang katangian ng ating dakilang lahi.
Iba-ibang ating pinagmulahan, sa iisang bayang sinilangan. Mga islang biyaya sa pinagpala, likha ng isang Diyos o bathala. Pinataglay ang dakilang yaman, sa atin binigay ang perlas ng silangan. Gintong lupa't haragatan, kay gandang kalikasan, ito'y sasagipin pangangalagaan.
Yan ang Pilipino, mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, kailangan ng mundo ang Pilipino. Mapagmahal ang lahi ko, may tapang malasakit, kaming mga Pilipino. Mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, payabunin natin to, ang Pilipino. Mapagmahal ang lahi ko, masipag malikhain, yan ang Pilipino. Halo-halo man ang ating ibig, iisa pa rin ang ating lahi.
Katotohanan ng kalooban, ating isabuhay. Ako, ikaw, tayo'y magmahalan.
Yan ang Pilipino, mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, kailangan ng mundo ang Pilipino. Mapagmahal ang lahi ko, ay tapang malasakit, kaming mga Pilipino. Mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, payabunin natin ko ang Pilipino. Mapagmahal ang lahi ko, masipag malikhain, yan ang Pilipino. Mapalad ang lahing ito, likas ang talino, kailangan namin ito, ang Pilipino. Mapagmahal ang lahi ko, ay dapat malasakit, kaming mga Pilipino. Likas ang talino, payabunin natin mo ang Pilipino. Isa ang lahi, halo-halo man ang libig, yan ang Pilipino.
Ang sinumang lingkod bayan ay may tungkulin na pinanumpaan. Nanumpa na maglilingkod ng buong puso batay sa tanggapan na kanyang pamumunuan. Bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. Ito ang palatuntunang maglalahat ng mga tuwirang impormasyon upang magsilbing gabay ng ating mga nanunungkulan saan mang tanggapan ng pamahalaan para sa kapakanan ng mamamayan. Bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. maglalatag ng mga naangkop na payo para sa lahat ng mamamayan na umaasam ng tunay na pagbabago at kaginhawaan sa buhay. Bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. At ngayon, narito ang inyong lingkod, Cora Alma de Leon.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Please like and share our live video and our FB page, Broad Streamcast Communicators. Follow me on Facebook at Corazon Alma de Leon, or you may contact me at 0918-912-3546. Our opening statement is, we may not be able to change the structure of our universe, but maybe by raising our voices, we can pursue the greatest of all causes, peace on earth and goodwill among men. This is the purpose of Bago ang Lahat, Mamamayan Muna. And from Pope Francis, he said, rivers do not drink their own waters, trees do not eat their own fruits, the sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is the rule of nature. We're all born for each other, no matter how difficult it is. Life is good when you're happy, but much better when others are happy because of you. And this afternoon, we're pleased to have once again Jen Soriano as our guest again. It's indicated there, Filipina-American writer, scholar, and singer, now living in Manila, recipient of fellowship from Artist Trust, Hugo House, and Jack Jones Literary Arts Retreat and Vermont Studio Center, co-founder of the Cultural Democracy Institutions, Media Justice and Reframe, and is a leader and worker in the field of narrative justice, author of Nervous, Essays on Heritage and Healing, and co-editor of Closer to Liberation, a Pinay XY activist anthology. And I'm not alone in this endeavor. I have my inangguro, Sonia Roco, to give us her greeting for this program. Go ahead, Sonia.
Hi, good afternoon, Cora. Magandang hapon at magandang hapon sa ating guest na si Jen. Tulad po ng parati ko sinasabi, mga tagapakinig natin dito sa Mamamayan Muna. Bago ang lahat, Mamamayan Muna, ay ito po ay isang oras na kung tayo po ay makikinig ay marami tayong matututunan. Lalong-lalo na si Jen ay hindi lang ngayon siya nating naging panauhin na natin siya noon. Kaya sigurado hindi kapos tayo nung una, so invited siya uli as guest. Kaya dyan lang po kayo, makinig tayo para tayo matuto.
At tamang-tama yung sinabi ni Rabindranath Tagore, where mind is without fear and head held high, where the world has not been broken to fragments by narrow domestic walls, where tireless strivings stretch their arms towards perfection, where the mind is led forward to thee, into ever-widening thought and action, into that of heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Si Jen ay manggigising sa atin kung ano ang kanyang mga nagawa na at ikukwento niya paano siya nakasulat ng libro. Of course, sa Amerika siya nanggaling, nandito siya for the year at gusto nating makilala lalo siya. Go ahead, Jen, introduce yourself, how you were able to write your book, the process before you were able to get your book written. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you for having me back. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. I'm very happy to be back. I know we have a lot more to talk about. Also, Tita Sonia, we didn't get a chance to sing together last time. Maybe we can this time. So how I wrote the book. So for anybody who didn't tune in the first show, this is my book. It's Nervous, Essays on Heritage and Healing. It's a memoir in essays. Oh, look at that. Thank you for that image. It's a memoir and essays, and and that's my my Kuya Oscar Peñaranda, who's a wonderful poet. If you don't know about him, you know, I wanted to write this book because there's still so much work we all have to do as Filipinos and Filipinos in the diaspora to document our histories and to recover lost histories. And also, I really believe that one of the most powerful documentations of history is personal story. And so I used my own story as well as my family's story, going back to my grandparents' generation, as a way to explore the history, some of the history of some of the Philippines as my family experienced it, and also some of the history of my parents as a specific type of migrant to the United States, you know, a 1960s pre-martial law migrant to the United States, and part of, you know, what was known and what continues to be a bit of a brain drain. And so I spent 8 years writing this book, and longer than that, really, if you count the time of just thinking about it, you know, just, you know, birthing it in my brain. But in terms of, you know, the time from active research and writing to publication, it took 8 years. And, you know, so the first thing I would say to anybody who is interested in publishing a book, who hasn't published a book yet, is just hang in there and keep going, because it does take persistence and sometimes, you know, even more than that, kind of like a singular mindedness of purpose, because there were a lot of obstacles along the way. I don't know how Philippine publishing is, but in the U.S., the publishing in the States, the publishing world in the States can be very closed off, lots of gatekeepers. And so it took me several attempts to get through many gates to be able to find an editor and a publisher for my book.
But maybe you brief us on your education, no? Because, of course, you were born in the U.S. and your family, your father was a doctor, your mother a pharmacist, but really was also a pianist of note.
Yes.
And I remember that you are, out of the two brothers and just yourself, the only daughter. Am I correct, Jan?
That's right. I'm the only daughter in the bunso. So
And where did you go to school? In, I mean, early years and then later in high school and college? Where did you go to school in the U.S.?
I went to school, yes. I was in the States the whole time. And, you know, my father, as you mentioned, was a doctor, and he was raised in the public schools in the Philippines. He went to Magat Salamat in Tondo, and for elementary school, and then I don't know where he went for junior high, but then he went to Torres High School, and then he went to the University of the Philippines. He was a big believer in public schools. So he put my oldest brother in public school in the U.S. Now, unfortunately, we lived in a place that was predominantly white, and there was a lot of anti-Asian bullying that was happening in the public schools at the time. And so because of that, my mom convinced my father to put us into private school. And so I went to a small school called the Avery Coonley School for kindergarten through 8th grade, and was really privileged to be able to learn a lot about particularly music there. I think that's what I remember most from my education, was an incredible education on music. And then I went to a high school that was a public high school, but it's called a magnet school, where you have to apply to get in, and people come from all over the state. And that was called the Illinois Math and Science Academy. And that was the education that launched me on the path to writing my book, to be honest, because what I learned at that school was how to view the world through the lens of science, but how to view science through the lens of society and power. And so it was a critical view and ethics. So I learned how to really think about what some people take as gospel through a critical lens, and was able to apply that to the world. And honestly, that is the lens that this book was written from. It's very much a sort of ethics and history of science book, because in addition to all of the, the Filipino history that I mentioned at the beginning of the program, it also talks a lot about neuroscience and the neuroscience of inheritance and how our nervous systems carry on the lessons of the past in both positive ways and also ways that can be detrimental to our health and to public health in general, unless we actually face those challenges that are carried in our nervous systems. So my high school education experience was incredibly influential in my life. I always say it was my favorite educational experience. And then I went to Harvard for college, which was not my favorite educational experience, but it was an extreme privilege, obviously. And I really am grateful for the opportunity to have gone to one of the most resourced, if not the most resourced university in the world. And there I majored in history and science. That was the name of the major. And that continued sort of this path of developing a way to look at the world that was really through looking at the ways that class, race, gender, influence everything around us, including something that people might take for granted as always objective, like science, and also the medical system.
So you did work. In other words, it was just writing your book, but you were also working at the same time. Am I correct, Jen?
Yes. So after I left college, I started working in a field that I then have worked in now for more than 25 years. So I started out in journalism right after college, but that actually led me into what in the States we call strategic communications and narrative strategy, which, if for folks who don't know what that is, you could think of it like marketing, but the end goal is not to sell a product. The end goal is to help people understand what's going on with social issues. So it's you can think of it as it actually kind of grew. Some of the field grew out of public health advocacy, and communications for public health, right? So the type of sort of mass communications that you would need to be able to stop people from smoking, right, at a mass scale, right? So that's the type of career that I've been working in and continue to work in, and specifically I work with NGOs.
And of course, you married somebody from Puerto Rico, right?
And then I married someone from Puerto Rico, yes, who I met when I was in San Francisco, who actually is a childhood friend of a good friend of mine from college. So I always say that was one of my favorite outcomes of going to Harvard, besides studying history and science, was that I met the people who introduced me to my husband. And he is here with me in the Philippines as well as our son. And one of our bonds has been actually how much Puerto Rican culture has in common with Filipino culture because of similar histories. So of colonization. So
because of the Spanish influence, clearly it shows itself. Sonia, you have any comments or questions to Jen?
I saw in your bio data something about narrative justice. I'm wondering what is that about?
Yes, so
that's a
narrative
question.
justice is another way of describing the work that I do in the field of strategic communications and narrative strategy. And I think I had mentioned in the first conversation an example of how narrative justice is basically telling stories of people who people in communities who otherwise are silenced, marginalized, or forgotten, or targeted by society. And in the narrative world, just like in the real world, in the on the ground IRL, in real life world, there's differentials in power. And so usually those who get to tell the story that then influences how laws are made, how decisions get made, are usually the people who are already in control of things and who have been making the rules or breaking the rules. And so narrative justice seeks to empower those who, that have to live with the impacts of the decision making to be able to tell their stories about how they're impacted, about how they would change the rules, about how they would change policies. And so, for example, I work with, communities impacted by immigration raids, the widespread and overreaching immigration raids that are now happening in the U.S. And workers, for example, who are trying to win back wages or get better wages or right wrongs or injustices in their workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And for us, it is not more than the usual. If, for instance, like you, who will say multicultural, because you lived in the States, Filipino parents, but lived in the States, and of course, I'm sure traveled quite a lot in the U.S. Did you travel a lot in the U.S.?
We did. I mean, especially, I would say in the first years that I was growing up as a family, my parents were still doing a lot of saving money because it's very expensive to live in the States and raise 3 kids in the States. And so for vacations, we would just get in our van and drive around the area where we lived, around the Midwest. So we would drive to Michigan and Kentucky, Arkansas, Indiana, really like the heartland of the U.S. that a lot of people who live on the coast don't actually ever visit. And so those were our vacation grounds for, like the other states around Illinois.
But I remember they lived in Pittsburgh, right? They did some work in Pittsburgh.
After they first got married, that was before they had my brothers and I.
That was the time I was in school, graduate school of public health.
Yes,
And I met
because
up
my
with them.
father was training as a neurosurgeon there still.
Correct.
And I have a cousin in Pittsburgh, so I've been to Pittsburgh and done work there. I work with groups all over the U.S. So I do travel a lot. And in the book, there's a lot that's about both the Midwest. It also mentions Pittsburgh because it tells my parents' migration story, and it talks about New York, but it also talks about some of these centers of Filipino American power, like San Francisco and parts of California, and also Seattle. So it covers a lot of ground. It also talks about different.
Who are listening to us or watching our program?
I'm sorry?
No, I asked Sonia if she has access to the people watching our program, so that you will know that quite a number of people have already posted their comments.
Yes, here. Good afternoon, Ma'am Sonia. Let me go back. Baby Alma Gracilia. Good afternoon, Ma'am Cora. Nakahabol ako ngayon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Sonia. Lily Kaya. Good afternoon po. Edlin Nangcha, good afternoon po. She's in China, but she's listening.
Let's
Uh,
see.
yeah. Shaylee Ann Mago, she has a heart there. Hil Gondayao, thank you. PA Public School System versus UP, PUP, and all state colleges and universities together with high school and elementary education. I don't know what G3 means. Regards everyone. JPTV, good PM, Secretary Cora, Madam Sonia, and Jen. And then I think that's it for
Yeah.
our comments.
Yeah, later I'm sure there'll be more people watching and that we can note. And I think it fits well that I will read also a poem because this is what, to my mind, you represent, unless someone cares. It goes like this. I don't think our communities will ever be clean and green unless someone cares. I don't believe our government will be good, just, and honest unless someone cares. I don't expect our leaders to be morally upright and politically sensitive unless someone cares. I don't expect a better life for our poor and oppressed people unless someone cares. I don't have the faith that we face a brighter future unless someone cares. I don't feel we will ever realize our dreams and aspirations unless someone cares. I don't know if we will all live our sense of purpose to build a better world unless someone cares. That someone is us, that someone is you and me, that someone is everybody, for we all must care. And today, that someone is, of course, Jen Soriano, who has graciously accepted our invitation to speak and about the work that she has done and will still be doing well in the Philippines. And she has a family living in Makati, and will send his son to school in Makati also. Am I correct, Jen? Where will he go to school?
Yes, that's correct. Um, he 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 goes to the Beacon School,
Hmm. Right.
which has been wonderful for him because there's a lot
Mm,
of Filipino culture and that gets taught there. But
correct.
he is struggling with Filipino as a language.
May comment pa si Hil Gundaya o Sonia.
Filipino citizenry has utilized into its arts, culture, education, even in blood, about colonization of Spain, USA, Japan, empowering mamamayan muna, he, her, though. Thanks. God bless you.
Thank you. Hil Gundaya. He was
Hilda
formerly with the
Maga,
Philippines.
PM. Yeah.
Nilda. Yes. So you will see, Jen, we are also, we have a number of listeners watching this program. So rest assured that people want to know more about you. And of course, the fact that you're a Filipino American writer, scholar, and singer living in Manila. What types of song are you singing?
Oh, I sing a lot of jazz. I also do a lot of, just covers of pop songs. There's been a lot of singing of K-pop Demon Hunter in our house. If anybody has kids, you know what that is. and and I used to be in a band, and I write about that in this book also. There's an essay that's all about the healing power of music, because music has been a really big inheritance of mine as well. Speaking of what we inherit, because my grandfather on my dad's side was a musician. He used to play violin for silent movies in Tondo, and he played in military bands. He played on, I think, cruise ships back in the 1930s, 1920s. So, and my father was trained as a musician by my grandfather. And he wanted to be a musician, but then he also wanted to, make money and support a family. So he became a doctor instead. But music was always really, really important to him. And he passed that on to me and my brothers as well. And so I also play instruments because, he gave us the privilege of learning how to play instruments as well. And so actually we have a little bit of a family band because my husband is an incredible musician. He's
Musician, yeah.
people who can just pick up any instrument and play it. And then my son is also now playing piano, like my mom. My mom is a pianist, and actually that's one of the reasons my mom and dad got together is that my mom was playing the piano, and my dad heard her play, and that was it for him. He fell over and was like, she's the one. So music really is a strong bonding thread in my family, and me and my husband and my son play music together, and we're hoping to do more music here in the Philippines as well, because it's not only an inheritance. Filipinos love music, and we're pretty good at it. It also really is genuinely good for your health. It actually helps with your circulation. It can help be a pain reliever or distractor, and it can help with mental health as well. It's been shown to reduce the symptoms of depression and anxiety. And so those are some of the things that I read about in this book about the power of music.
Sonia, may comment pa si Edlin.
Edlin, what is the message of your book po, Ma'am Jen, to the world? Thank you po.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. I would say if there was one message, it's that we all carry around a lot of wounds and hurt from the wounds of history. Honestly, they don't just end when wars end, right? We carry them on through generations. But the most important thing about that is that if we can acknowledge that, then we can face the problem and we can actually heal together. And the way that we heal together is exactly in that last word, which is together. So the whole concept of kapwa, pakikisama, those are core, like, Filipino values that are also core practices for healing collective traumas that we may carry from the wounds of history. So we can actually undo them if we face them together.
I think more than myself, Sonia can relate to music because she has seen the growth of a local group. Ano nga pangalan ng grupo?
Singers, the Mabuhay Singers.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the Mabuhay Singers. They've been singing for 65 years and more.
Yes, I've heard them. I think I've seen them before, maybe with my parents at one point. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad
there's your message. Remembering my elementary school song, all things shall perish from under the sky. Son, music alone shall live. Music alone shall live. It shall never shall.
Wow. That's
Correct,
truth.
correct. Thanks, Bill.
Music does live on. That's true. That's a whole aspect I hadn't even thought of. Yeah, about how music really does endure.
And Edlin says such a beautiful message because I think the reason we wanted you to come back, we didn't have enough time. And I think we had problem pa with the audio at the time. I don't know. So we're happy that you still found the time to be with us today. And of course, interesting, many people watching are also giving their comments. This is the thing that Sonia and I have put a passion in ensuring that we're able to continue every Tuesday and possibly on Saturday for this program, Bago ang Lahat Mamamayan Muna. Edlin gave a comment also, Sonia.
Hope you can collaborate with Mrs. Sonia Roco and Halo Halo Tayo Play.
Oh, ano yan?
They came out with the play. and it was a fundraising also. And how many shows you had? You had a
Maybe
number
about
of days that you showed
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Halo-halo is about Filipino archetypes, you know,
Hmm.
and
And it was an actual play?
yeah, we wrote the music, we wrote the script collaboratively.
Wow. Are you planning to show it again?
Well, we need the funds,
Yeah, that's
people.
always the
but you
issue.
have the tape, diba? You have the. Do you have the record of Halo
Yeah,
Halo?
CD,
Yeah.
yes. Part of
Maybe
the
you
song
can.
that we played at the beginning is the finale song of that play. If you saw the
Oh,
song
really?
Yan ang Pilipino,
Oh, I was
yeah,
wondering where the song was
yeah,
from. Ah,
that's
okay.
from Halo Halo.
Ganda yun. It's really nice.
Well, anyway, um, moving forward, what? How do you see yourself in the rest of your stay in the Philippines? You're going to stay just a year, although your mom's coming December. I understand.
She is. Yes, she is. And that's going to be a really wonderful reunion. Actually, my whole family is going to come, my brothers and their families as well, which will be the first time that their kids are coming. So, trying to really act as a bridge. That's one of the things that I'm doing is trying to act as a bridge between the rest of my family and my family here. Because for
Mm.
whatever reason, I am the one in my family who has retained the most connection with the Philippines, and I think one of the reasons is so that I can be that bridge and really help introduce my nieces and nephew to the culture here, and also help my brothers continue, relationship with the country and the culture and our family here. So that's one of the things I'll be doing, and I am continuing to work late night hours with U.S. groups. But in the daytime, or I should say the afternoons after I sleep, um, I am also trying to take advantage of the amazing archives here and going to, for example, the Filipinas Heritage Library here in Makati. I would like to visit the Ateneo Library of Women Writers, and really do some research, and read some books and documents that I don't have anywhere near access to in the United States. For example, I just read a book. It's a biography about Julio Nakpil. Nikpil? How do you say his
Nakpil,
name?
Nakpil.
Nakpil. Yeah, and it has, some of his actual like copies of his original manuscripts of his original music in there. And then at the end of the book is the autobiography of, right, his then wife, Gregoria de Jesus. And so, things like that I wouldn't have access to. And I'm especially interested in the memoirs of Filipina writers, uh, because there's actually very few, but this is changing now, Filipina American memoirs, but that's changing now, which I'm really happy to see. But it seems to me, from what I've seen, that there is a body of Filipina memoirs and autobiographies, and that's something I'm really eager to learn about. And like I said in the beginning, I think it's one of the best ways to learn about history is through personal stories. And what better way, than to learn from the matriarchs, and sort of the daughters, right, of the country. So I hope that you both will be working on memoirs and autobiographies sometime soon, so that we can have your memoirs be
Yeah.
part of that canon as well. And
I'll give
also,
you a book, Jen. We have Vessel of Voices. We took
hmm,
a course on memoir writing,
oh,
and we came out with two volumes.
oh,
I'll
I,
give
I
you a
would
copy
love that.
so that these memoirs that you're looking for, I mean, at least our group, we really studied it and we wrote about our memoirs.
Wow. Oh, that's exciting. Yes, thank you for telling me about that. And I would love a copy. We will have to meet up and do an exchange so I can give you
Yes, yes,
copies
yes,
of my
yes.
book as well.
We can meet up at the house of Cora when your parents come.
Oh, great.
What province do you hail from?
My mother comes from Bulacan.
Ah, okay.
So nearby.
Bukawi, actually, Bukawi ba?
Mocaue. Yeah, from Mocaue.
Oo.
And your father?
Sonia, marami pang important. Good.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Well, my
Si
father.
Edlin.
Oh,
Si Edlin.
oh,
yeah.
there's more comments.
Father? Your
Oh,
father
my
is?
father grew up in Tondo, and
Yeah,
his
Manila. Mhm.
so here in Manila, but he also had family in Bicol and also in Bulacan.
Bicol. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, it says here the songs in Halo Halo. The message is Ginto Ako from Edlin. And then Heal Gondayao. Lastly, Music Heals. I think he's just saying what you also said. Edlin
Yeah,
Nangcha, we really need healing as a nation.
agreed.
Uh, Edlin, very interesting. Mrs. Sonia, Roco, and I were part of a memoir writing of documents. Jennifer Selig from Pacifica in Santa Barbara. She was our teacher. Evelyn
Oh,
Roda, good morning po. And Gia Nguyen vlogs. Looks like Vietnam. Hello. And then flowers. He sent 3 flowers. Baby Alma Gracilia, Ma'am Cora, Ma'am Sonia, and Ma'am Ja. I love listening to music as a stress
really.
reliever.
Hmm. Me too. Me too.
Last na ba yun? O, last na. Oo. Moving forward, I think I would like to hear from you what you really want to come out of your stay, the 1 year stay in the Philippines. Jen?
I really would like to come out with more connections with people who work in the mental health fields as well as social work and other types of supportive fields like that because I don't know anybody besides you, Tita Cora, and I guess now you too, Tita Sonia, who work in those fields. And I am not a practitioner in those fields, but I'm a big fan of people who do that kind of support work. It's like the poem that you shared. I think that similar to teachers, like it's work that's so commendable because it's so much about caring and giving. And I have a lot of respect for people in those fields. And I want to just be able to provide my book as a tool. I had said in the first session that I don't know how much this would speak to Filipinos here in the Philippines, but Tita Sonia, you very generously said that you think that it would. But I would love to get my book in the hands of people who work directly with people who are struggling with their mental health, trying to improve, their emotional healing, because that's who I wrote the book for. And so that's one of my goals, is to be able to connect with those communities.
What's your message to the Filipinos given the situation of the corruption, all the stories in the newspapers? What's your message to the Filipino people?
That is a very good question. I've thought a lot about this. I think corruption is just one of the most blatant, obvious examples of greed that comes, I believe, from a place of deep hurt and wounding, actually. I think that when we are emotionally healthy, when we have a society that is organized around principles of emotional health and care, I actually believe that those are kind of the structural and cultural preconditions that we need to be able to make greed and corruption unnecessary. People would not have the impulse towards greed and corruption because they would already have enough. They would have what they need. And that is both materially and also emotionally. And I think the older that I get and the more that I work in, kind of have been looking at this kind of field, the different fields of psychology, psychiatry, the more and more I actually really believe that a lot of socio-political problems and issues get created by, a lust for power, greed that then has a root cause. And there are structural root causes, such as inequality, where people are like, well, if it's going to be this unequal, I want to make sure I'm at the top. But then there's also deep emotional root causes that come from unresolved and unhealed trauma. And, I think that there are many leaders who are trying to make up for unresolved pain, untended to lovelessness, by trying to seek more power and more money. And so that's why I believe that while we are also working on sort of all of the policy and practices and structural changes, we also have to work on the emotional supports and emotional healing that is necessary at a public health scale.
Sonia, final words na tayo.
Wait, there. I still read this. May I ask your brand of music? Does it have Filipino cultural value like kumintang, etc.? Thanks.
Oh, thank you for asking. So the band that I used to be in, it actually did. We used the kulintang in some of our songs. Yeah, the kulintang, also agongs, because some of our band members, including me, we have had the opportunity to study that music with some of the masters of the music, both in the Cordilleras and also in the States, because Danny Calenduyang was a master of kulintang music. Sorry, and I meant not just the Cordilleras, but also in Mindanao. So Danny Calenduyang was a master of kulintang music, and he taught a lot of Filipino Americans how to properly play. And a couple of my band members were taught by him. And meanwhile, I learned how to play gangsa. We also use gangsa and also tongatong from tribes in the Cordilleras. And so we use those instruments in some of our songs. And it was an all Filipino American band, so it was all about actually trying to share Filipino culture and Filipino American culture. Yeah, it's called Diskarte Namin. Diskarte Namin, and you can hear our music on any streaming services and YouTube.
You know more about the Cordillera music than I do. So anyway, there are still comments here. Hurt people from Edlin, and then Ses Fajilan.
I would love that.
Jen Soriano, speaking of connection, how about getting to know more of the countryside Filipinos who still maintain our culture much deeper than us from the metropolis?
That's a great suggestion. I'm curious where this listener is from, like what province they're referring to specifically. But yes, I would love that. I really would. I just, need the invitations.
Yeah. Okay, wow. Hope you get to meet Chairman Felipe De Leon Jr., who is now the president of Asian Social Institute, because he has really researched a lot on Filipino music.
Oh.
Then baby Alma Gracila, oh ma'am, I like it one time. I played gabangong and conga. Conga.
Congo.
I'm not familiar with gabangong.
Gabangong. Yes, thank you. Nice.
Well, time has gone fast, and we usually end this prayer. They end the program with a prayer. It goes like this: prayer for the nation. Lord, let me be the change I want to see, to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done, and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitations. Grant me the courage and humility. Fill me with spirit to face the challenge and start a change I long to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark in faith, service, and communion. Let's start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me. Thank you very much, Jen. Hope to see you again. And we'll invite you for our usual meal, family meal in our house, even before your mom comes. And again, together with Tita Darla and Tito Jimmy, we will have a meeting with your family. Thank you very much. And as Sonia mentioned, she will have some sharings with you in my house as well. Except that she's leaving for Naga because the birthday of her husband, but she'll be back end of the month. And you'll still be here because you'll be here even for the holidays. So we will get together. Thank you very much, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Maraming salamat po. And thank you to
Maraming
everybody.
salamat.
listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Inyong napakinggan at natunghayan ang Bago ang Lahat, Mamamayan Muna. Sa pamamagitan pa rin ng inyong tulay sa tunay na pagbabago, ang Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat po.